Coming up on Network Africa. Guinea's coup leader, General Mamadi Doumbouya, enters the presidential race ahead of the elections in December. Ghana's President John Mahama renews demand for permanent seats for Africa on the United Nations Security Council. Plus, death toll from Uganda and Kenya landslide rises to over 40 people. Hello and welcome to the program today. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin in Guinea, where the military commander has submitted his candidacy at the Supreme Court, officially entering the presidential race. General Mamadi Doumbouya, who has ruled since a coup 4 years ago, is now in the running ahead of next month's election, breaking an earlier promise to hand power to a civilian government. Two of Guinea's biggest opposition parties, the RPG, ARC-NCL and UFDG, have been excluded from December's contest, and this has raised concerns about the election's credibility. The election is being held under a new constitution that allowed General Doumbouya to be able to run for the presidency. Under his rule, Guinean authorities have reportedly been cracking down on peaceful dissent, including attempts to mobilize people towards a return to democratic rule. General Doumbouya deposed then 83-year-old President Alpha Condé back in 2021. Prior to seizing power, he was a middle-ranking soldier. His 15-year military career included missions in Afghanistan, Côte d'Ivoire, Djibouti, CAR, and close protection in Israel, Cyprus, the UK, and Guinea. Northern Cameroon's city of Marua is unusually quiet as locals continue opposition leaders Issa Chiroma's appeal to hold a nationwide 3-day ghost town protest over presidential elections results. The streets are deserted, with rows of shops and small businesses closed. Some locals say they support the protest and they are prepared for whatever it brings, so far it brings about change. Others are quite skeptical, sharing concerns that this standstill protest is affecting the well-being of families. Earlier, opposition leader Issa Chiroma urged his supporters to join a 3-day ghost town protest over what he referred to as a confiscated election victory. This comes amid violent post-election unrest in Cameroon that was sparked by allegations of electoral fraud and manipulation. The ghost town protest began on November 3rd following the announcement of President Paul Biya's re-election for an 8th term in office, extending his rule beyond 40 years. The call for Africa to have a permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council is intensifying. Ghana's President John Mahama has renewed calls for Africa to be granted permanent seats on the UNSC during an address in Accra, describing the continent's exclusion as a historical injustice. President Mahama reiterated that the continent demands at least 2 permanent seats with veto power, along with additional non-permanent seats. The Ghanaian leader expressed appreciation for Germany's support for Security Council reform, calling on other nations to move beyond his rhetoric and take action. Mahama's comments align with other African demands for reform at the UN General Assembly back in September. DRC President Felix Tshisekedi also urged the UN to grant Africa a stronger voice within its institutions, particularly the Security Council. The UNSC comprises currently of 15 members, 5 permanent, which are China, France, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States, and 10 non-permanent members elected for 2-year terms.
Challenges of our era, climate change, pandemics, terrorism, migration and poverty cannot be tackled by any one nation alone. They require our collective action, dialogue and compromises. Regarding Africa's representation in global governance, Ghana continues its long-standing and legitimate demand for Africa's permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council. Africa, with 54 countries and over 1.4 billion people, remains the only inhabited continent in this world without a permanent representation on the world's most influential decision-making body. This historical injustice must be corrected. The African Union's Ezulwini Consensus and the CERT Declaration clearly express Africa's stance. The continent demands at least 2 permanent seats with veto power, along with additional non-permanent seats. Germany has consistently supported UN Security Council reform and Africa's rightful place at the table. I wish to commend President Steinmeier and the German government for this principled stand, and Ghana calls on all nations to move beyond rhetoric and take action to make the Security Council more representative, democratic, and legitimate.
The Nigerians in the Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, is urging Nigerians at home and abroad to unite against the decision to classify Nigeria as a country of particular concern by U.S. President Donald Trump. Chairman CEO of NIDCOM, Honorable Abike Dabiri-Erewa, makes reference to statements issued by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, appealing to Nigerians in the diaspora to remain calm, united, and continue to defend and project the true image of the country. In a statement issued by Honorable Dabiri-Erewa, she says Nigeria is a country built on tolerance, diversity, and democratic values, and that the conspiracy theory depicting Nigeria as a country killing Christians in particular is not the true reflection of what is going on in Nigeria. According to her, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has reaffirmed the nation's unwavering commitment to religious liberty and mutual respect. Well, more reactions continue to trail U.S. President Donald Trump's threat of military action in Nigeria, particularly his recent comments on Air Force One regarding sending U.S. troops to Nigeria to combat Islamic militant groups. Our Washington, D.C. correspondent Maria Bird had a chat with intelligence and security expert Dr. Sylvester Okere on the response of Nigerians living in the U.S. to President Trump's decision.
Good evening. We thank you so much for joining us. We know it's a very interesting time across the globe, and specifically with the U.S. and Nigeria relations. The U.S. president has said he is going to potentially put boots on the ground in Nigeria to address what he considers mass killings of Christians. Tell us how Nigerians in the U.S. are responding to this.
Seriously, since the statement was made, I've been reaching out to a lot of Nigerians, and we've been having talks. Throughout today, I spoke with more than 10 people, and everyone received that positively. I know there are 1 or 2 people that may say, okay, this is not the right step and so on, but the situation in Nigeria is very painful, it's very disheartening that every one of us feel like if the government cannot help, and at this point, we can't just allow our families be dying. Where we hear those things, we see them, and so on. So if the president cannot do it, and one thing people don't know is that the role of a president of every nation is very simple. It's to provide security and well-being for the people. And if this is so difficult for the president to handle, I think they need help. And one problem our culture is people need help, but they don't know what they really want. Because we have a lot of things going on there. Women, children cannot go to school. You don't even know which way, whether you go to school, you come back, or you go to work, you come back, you go to farm, you come back, coupled with the hunger and, bad governance and so on. So this is not something we should be dealing at this age. It's kind of funny that at this time, Nigeria still faces severe and multidimensional security challenges, and yet they're not doing anything about it. It's not that Nigeria cannot afford to tackle that issue financially or other resources. Yes, help is needed from abroad, from anywhere, but start from somewhere. We have men in military. What are those uniforms they are wearing? And they are very professional people, but the government is not backing them up or giving them the resources they need, because every money they make has always been, channeled to one thing or the other. Personal and corruption is one of the things eating those things down. We have great men and women that can tackle this problem. It's very simple. I used to be an immigration officer, and I know how we were trained in those days. And today, things have even been upgraded and so on. So we have people that are very knowledgeable to handle that if given the real resources that they need.
And before we close up, we know that this is pressing. Do you believe that the U.S. president should be involved? You've mentioned Nigeria has the resources to take care of this. So should the U.S. be at all involved in this? Should they be putting boots on the ground?
Well, if we did it to Iran and did it to Hamas and so on, what stops us here? We cannot imagine people that are being killed every day. That's why I'm very annoyed when I see people coming openly denying it and this and that. That shows the level of out of touch and irresponsibility of our leaders. Because Nigeria is a country where our leaders don't value human lives. People die, people are being killed like animals, and things are happening to people. No one's going to take action. Ambulance will not come. Rather, people are taking videos and posting online. Nobody's going to help because they don't care about human beings. So yes, an outsider, a man that cares, like Donald Trump, if he had done it for Iran and other places, and not only Nigeria, look at Venezuela, look at Colombia, Caribbean, and so on. This is a man who believes in security, law and order, and peace. But people are kind of misconstruing it. Oh, he's going for oil, he's going for this. The man doesn't care about what you have. He wants everybody to take care of yourself.
Well, the good doctor, we thank you for sharing with us. We thank you for your time. And we definitely will have you on again soon. We have to have you back sooner than later.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, China has firmly opposed the United States' use of religion and human rights to meddle in Nigeria's affairs after Washington threatened a possible military action over the alleged killing of Christians in the north. During a news conference in Beijing today, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said religion and human rights is not an excuse to interfere with other countries' internal affairs and threaten them with sanctions and force. She says, as Nigeria's comprehensive strategic partner, China firmly supports the Nigerian government in leading its people on the development path suited to its national conditions. On Saturday, U.S. President Donald Trump threatened Nigeria with possible military action for the alleged killing of Christians, with claims that Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. He also accused radical Islamists of being responsible for the mass slaughter. China has officially released its 15th five-year plan, officially known as the 15th five-year plan for economic and social development of the People's Republic of China, a set of goals for national economic development. The plan covers the years from 2026 to 2030, which will be informed by the results of the fifth economic consensus. The phrasing of a five-year plan often offers signals of where China believes the future is heading. The Chinese leadership has called this plan a crucial link in the country's path towards fundamental modernization by 2035. The 15th five-year plan has given top priority to building a modernized industrial system and reinforcing the foundations of the real economy, achieve greater self-reliance and strength in science and technology, and also steer the development of new quality productive forces and focusing on the private sector to open China more broadly in the next 5 years by expanding market access and areas of openness.
Today, I'm so excited that our General Consulate, together with China Media Group, to organize this global dialogue on innovation, openness, and shared development Nigeria session. Because you know that recently just successfully were held in Beijing the fourth plenary session of the 20th Central Committee of CPC. And the most important that they adopted the 15th five-year plan. Yeah, and I think that this plan not only important for China's development in the future, but also it can benefit the people from all of the the world, include Nigeria, because that in this plan, yes, Chinese government, Chinese people, we know, yes, in which area we should focus, yes, development, like new digital economy, innovation, opening up, and the industrialization, modernization, and so on.
More than 40 people are known to have died after multiple landslides struck Kenya and Uganda's mountainous border region last week. On both sides of the border, many people are still missing, and search and rescue teams have been sent out to find them amid warnings that more landslides could occur. The Kenyan Interior Ministry says as heavy rainfall continues to be experienced across several parts of the country, the risk of landslides, especially along the Kerio Valley region, is heightened. They're urging residents of affected areas to be cautious of any earth movements, and local authorities are moving those at risk to higher ground. 14 school children were among the dozens of Kenyans that were killed when two mudslides struck the Great Rift Valley area. Uganda's Red Cross workers say at least 18 people died in the country's east, and their staff plus community volunteers are now searching for the 20 people still unaccounted for across Kapchorwa, Bokwo, and Queen districts. Where in Malawi now, dozens of fuel stations remain closed in Lilongwe, even as the country, as mass unrest and protest in neighboring Tanzania has blocked major transport routes used by fuel tankers, and this has further exacerbated the fuel shortage crisis. Dozens of cars queue up at gas stations as drivers rush to fill their tanks while supplies lasted. Protests erupted in Tanzania, and that was after a disputed presidential election, with opposition groups alleging irregularities in the vote count. Demonstrations have spread across key transport corridors, particularly near the border with Malawi and Zambia, where protesters have reportedly set fire to public infrastructure and blocking the roads. Malawi's economy is highly dependent on imports transported by road from the Tanzanian coast, as the country has no direct access to the sea. Over 70% of its fuel imports typically arrive through Tanzania's port of Dar es Salaam, with smaller volumes arriving via Beira, and that's in Mozambique.
The post-election violence in Tanzania is only compounding on a problem that already exists in Malawi. So if this is not solved as soon as possible, then we should expect additional significant, negative consequences on the economy. The most sustainable solution has got to do with Malawi holding hands with other countries within the Southern Africa region to engage into negotiations for a peaceful settlement on the election, post-election aftermath. We have heard the alternatives that Malawi government has been weighing in terms of sending the military to provide the escort, military escort to fuel tankers and the transporters. However, while this may work, it can only be a short-term solution. Because again, Malawi should not be seen to be interfering into the security apparatus in Tanzania.
Winning in Africa today isn't just about profit margins or market share. It's about understanding the continent's unique dynamics and building businesses that are resilient, adaptable, and grounded in local realities. Now, that's according to businessman Peter Melape, speaking to our South Africa correspondent Innocent Samosa in Johannesburg. Take a listen.
Businessman Peter Melape, who has operated in more than 40 African countries, sat down with me to share his insights, beginning with what he believes is the biggest factors driving business success across the continent.
two moves. One is embrace the question, what's good enough? If you're a multinational or a company making products fit for Africa, you need to be able to customize them to be more robust, to be more relevant to the African environment. The next move is that I like very much is called making sure that everybody wins. Business is by nature set up to solve business problems, market problems. So if you're running a business, you are addressing a need.
Many investors talk about Africa's potential, but few manage to scale sustainability. Mihlape shares some of the most common mistakes businesses make when entering African markets.
Nigeria is also, you need to be prepared to deal with a market like Nigeria. A lot of businesses went there and came up with a bloody nose. Today we're talking about ShopRite, Checkers. They had 25 stores there. They had many challenges in dealing with that. Again, it talks about understanding the lay of the land, the rules of the road.
He recently published a new book titled Winning in Africa, Your Next 8 Moves to Business Success in Africa. Peter says Africa's markets can be unpredictable, but they are also full of opportunity for those who take time to learn how each country works.
One thing that has been done is I wrote a book called Winning in Africa, Your Next 8 Move, targeted to educate the investors and any business men and women who are aspiring to do the business in the continent, just to equip them to be in a better condition. For instance, the foreign investors in Western Europe and US, they think Africa is one homogeneous market, which is the same across and have the same problem. Africa is a cocktail. I say in my book that Africa, we probably have 3 or 5 Africas.
As Africa continues to navigate the business landscape, the message here from Peter Mihlape is that entrepreneurs in Africa must diversify and capacitate themselves in order to stay ahead. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Simos, Channels Television News.
The minimum to beat was 250, and I can now confirm that your attempt to break the record has been successful. Congratulations, Oluwasegun.
Taking account of the online, thank you very much. Seazi, please put an helicopter view.
Well, a Nigerian has once again made history, this time by turning dreams into a record-breaking moment. Peak performance coach and leadership consultant Dr. Shogo Oyeniyi has successfully set the first ever Guinness World Record for the highest number of people creating a vision board simultaneously, both online and in a single physical venue. The event, in a powerful display of unity, brought together hundreds of participants to visualize their goals and future together. With 54 participants joining online and 391 physically present, the record-breaking total of 445 people surpassed the minimum requirement of 250, securing a remarkable first for Nigeria and the world. Beyond setting a new record, the initiative aimed to encourage individuals globally to envision and pursue their aspirations with purpose. To qualify, each vision board had to feature at least 3 images and 1 handwritten personal pledge, clearly displayed for validation.
A Guinness World Record achievement is not a small deal, because the scrutiny, the attention to details, the months of preparation, the sleepless nights. So I feel fulfilled, not just for myself, but for the millions of dreamers that have been inspired around the world. All right, so a vision board is a tool for societal transformation that a lot of people are not aware of. So my main aim is to raise awareness about the power the transformational power of vision board and how it can help in transforming personal lives and society at large. For every society, the smallest unit is an individual. So if an individual gets it right, multiple individuals gets it right, then the society will become a better place to live.
And as we end the program today, here's our fun fact about the continent. Did you know that Malawi is known as the warm heart of Africa because of the generosity, kindness and openness of its people, which has earned the country this affectionate nickname? With a predominantly rural population of over 18 million people, Malawi is made up of friendly tribes and ethnic groups living in traditional villages. The nickname is also linked to the country's beautiful landscapes, especially Lake Malawi, which is one of Africa's largest and deepest freshwater lakes. And that's it on the program for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.